What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Custom Journeys podcast. My name is Andrew Baines, and I'm your host. I am here to help you all throughout your journey as becoming a STEM professional. I'm going to be doing that today by introducing you to Gooch. She is a apprentice experience lead at a large consulting firm. She's going to be talking about her own personal journey as going from somebody with no tech experience, going through a tech apprenticeship program, all the way to now being a apprenticeship lead, experience lead for a consulting firm. And so she has a very unique journey, very famous individual. She doesn't like to acknowledge that, but she is. So very excited to kind of talk to her about her own personal journey of triumph. It's a very inspiring story. So excited to be introducing Kara to you guys. Kara, what's up? What's good? How you doing?
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I know you didn't want me to say that famous part, but I had to throw that in there, give you a little friendly jab, you
I,
know?
I appreciate the alley oop.
Yeah, you gotta, you have a very unique story. So I started this job board called noexperiencejob.io, shameless plug, list
Yeah.
now jobs that don't require any experience. And even before doing that, I've really been kind of tuned into early career professionals, opportunities for early career professionals, and apprenticeship programs by far are my favorite. So like anytime I can find a former apprentice or an apprentice manager or anybody associated with apprenticeship programs, I'm always, looking for those individuals. And you, my friend, have a very interesting story having gone through an apprenticeship program with Goodwill and everything else. So we're going to get into all of it as much as we can, but thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an honor to be here.
Cool. Hey, so let's kind of start with the at the end, like where you're currently at. I'm not going to
Mhm.
name the company for those of you who don't um, know, or you're like, why don't I say the name of the company? Just for, it's a story about Kara. You can look her up on LinkedIn and easily find out who she works for. But you work at a company that they have apprenticeship programs. They have tons of apprentices. But I would love to kind of learn, like, what does an apprenticeship experience lead do? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah. So this role actually was created for me out of a necessity because I knew that there were spaces of gap. So by connecting with a couple of active apprentices as well as alumni as similar to myself, I knew that there was something that just wasn't right. I made myself available, and then yeah, the role was created. So as a experience lead, I help our apprentices navigate what they don't know. And we hear that saying all the time of like, you don't know what you don't know. So I'm the one that comes in and serve almost like a coach and a guide and giving them not just the leg up because they already have the leg up because they're a part of a large corporation, but giving them the keys to the kingdom that may or may not be available based on them finding it themselves. So I'm helping them from day one to day 365 and making sure that they're getting the expectation and their experience joining and there not being so much of a gap. So that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, I like that because I mean, these early career professionals, I'm assuming a lot of the people that you are helping come from non-traditional backgrounds in the sense of like, hey, they may not have worked in corporate America. And there's a
Mhm.
culture shock that kind of happens just from going from like college to corporate America. So coming from like a non-corporate background into this management consulting firm, it's like, oh my goodness, you're dealing with clients, you're dealing with coworkers and all that. So I mean, I can definitely see the need or the gap where, somebody's like, hey, I'm just here to learn tech. And y'all said I don't need to have no experience. Like, give me the job versus like what's actually expected from the management team and everything else. So I appreciate you doing that work. And I mean, I guess what are some of like the outcomes or things you've kind of observed, just like maybe at a high level? Because we're going to dive deeper, but just kind of curious there.
Yeah, at a high level, I have seen some of the same things. Some of individuals coming in and they're frustrated with either the way that their journey has gone up until this point, or I've seen them so eager to learn, and then the door for opportunity is open so wide because there's such a large investment into learning and development. We need to figure out a way to guide them to give them, one brick in front of the other that may be seen as like a yellow brick road, but what's the next step to get me to that junior software engineering position? What's the next step that'll get me to that senior analyst? What's the next step that'll get me to a product owner opposed to just a PMO or a project management officer? Like, how do I get there? And so because I've seen that frustration of like feeling lost, it's like we have to understand that even though they're navigating something that is unfamiliar to them, you're still dealing with people that got it out the mud. Like, you're still dealing with people that have that grit, and they have to be reminded sometimes that that grit not only got them there, but it'll keep them there, and it'll help them to excel beyond what an analyst with zero experience and a hundred and something plus $1,000 of debt can do to them. Like, they're going to compete, but sometimes I see some of them, they outpace the people that work alongside them. And those are the stories that I try to be a part of. And some of them I am.
That's nice. I like that. And I think, that comment you threw in there about, the comparison of people outpacing others from
Mhm.
other more traditional backgrounds, and I think that's a great point to make because I hear employers or you see employers talk about, we got these college kids coming straight out of college, they're still not prepared for the job. And it's like, I think there's a discount that's taken when people look at people from non-traditional backgrounds. But when you think about like the life experiences, the career experiences, and that grit that you talked about, like, you need that resiliency. You need somebody who's creative, who can attack a problem from different perspectives, not just from the way the book shows you. And I mean, even more importantly, I like to call them core skills. We always call them soft skills, but, being able to like work with cross-functional teams and deal with problem solvers and problem people. Like, a lot of that comes from being in those non-traditional backgrounds. You have to work with all kinds of people, hostile people, friendly people, and everything in between. So I think, it's I'm glad you're doing the work again. I know I said it before, but just wanted to echo that. I just realized, there may be somebody who's watching this for the first time or seeing this channel for the first time, and they may be like, what is an apprenticeship program? They 8 minutes in or however many minutes into the recording, they didn't even say what an apprenticeship is. So I guess I kind of, assume people knew because I have a lot of videos about this. But in your words, like, what is a tech apprenticeship program for people who aren't familiar with it?
Yeah, so a tech apprenticeship program is an earn and learn program. You are brought into a business and you're given the expectation to learn on the job. It is work based learning. And with that, you can either approach it from the mindset of, great, this is school at an accelerated rate, or you can approach it as, great, this is a work based mentorship, and I'm going to get everything that I need to either excel in my skills, or I'm going to have a different perspective, a different goal, and apply some of the knowledge that I gain at work and then apply it to every life situation. I take a tech apprenticeship as the best way to itemize where it is you want to go and learn it from leaders that are alongside of you.
Okay,
But
nice.
you
Now,
are earning money while you're learning. So that's one that's one caveat that I want to make sure that I call out. You're not here to just work for free. You get money for working.
yeah, no, I appreciate you making that distinction because I think back in the day, I don't know if it's still happening, but in some internships will be unpaid, so it's like the payment is you get to work and gain experience, and I'm like, that sounds like slavery. Or it's like you just go to school and you just get all the book theoretical knowledge, but then you could go find out employers are like, no, we want you to have practical knowledge. So it's like I think it's valuable that you guys are creating these opportunities, and I've seen your employer looks very active in this space. I will say that, like, especially so I'm based in Houston. I went to Apprenticeship Week here last year where they kind of spotlighted some of the different programs that were taking place, and your employer was like one of the two that really had the forefront. It was like, hey, we've hired hundreds of apprentices. So I think that's great work that you guys are doing. And so let's talk about your experience as an apprentice, right? Like you actually went through an apprenticeship program. And I thought when I first learned who you went through that program with, I was like, that's a very, now I want to say unlikely, but it's not, because they do a lot of workforce development. It's just that I don't think a lot of people know that they do it. When people hear the name Goodwill, they think, yo, I'm gonna do some thrift shopping, see if I can get me some, I don't know, some retro throwback gear or whatever. But there's a big workforce development program that Goodwill has. So talk to me a little bit about, number one, what were you doing before the apprenticeship program? And then like number two, like your experience actually going through the apprenticeship program.
Yeah, so I wanna also clarify and make the distinction. So Goodwill Career Solutions and the Digital Career Accelerator is a part of Goodwill based on the grants and the learning opportunities that you can go through to either get certified in a digital skill or you can get certified in a trade like skill. So they also have like forklift operator opportunities. And then for me, I went through the IT support certification with a partnership with Goodwill and Google. And so just wanted to make that clear distinction. But after completing that program and being certified as an IT support specialist, I was afforded the opportunity to be a part of an apprenticeship program. But back to that first question, I know you were saying something about Goodwill.
No,
So
that's
remind me
cool.
of that first
So
question.
you went through a IT certification program first, and then you went through the apprenticeship program. So you went. It was a Grow with Google certification program, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So when you think about Goodwill, there are multiple pillars, right, underneath Goodwill. So they have the thrift store, and that helps to power a lot of what they do on a daily basis. But the career solutions, that was an opportunity that was presented to me by a colleague. So at the time, I was juggling a couple of jobs. I did digital marketing for myself, just a freelancing situation. And I also did data entry with a healthcare provider. That was some of the lower times of my life because I was also a single parent at the time. And while going through the Goodwill certification, I knew that I just had to finish something. Like, just finish something. Cara, just finish something. Because at that point, I felt like everything that I had started, it needed to be finished because I had to choose parenting over whatever advancement that I wanted at the time. But yeah, I got support to bring the girls with me to in-person learning sessions. I got support from a mentor that now has become one of my greatest friends. She was actually the story that inspired me to join the Goodwill certification. And her story was listed in the local newspaper. I was in Nashville, Tennessee at the time. And to meet her in person, hey, Chelsea, to meet her in person was not only a dream come true, but she became my first mentor within the tech industry. So we had a similar story. We were both single parents at the time. She's still a single parent, enjoying the life of raising her two daughters. And it's funny because our daughters are around the same age. So to see the growth that we've experienced through their growth and how old they are based on where we both started, it's night and day. It's night and day.
Yeah, that's amazing. I appreciate you sharing that with me. I saw one video. It was you and two other ladies being interviewed.
Yep.
Was Chelsea one of the women in that interview?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah, no, I think I remember her. I think she was the one talking about she heard some IT professionals talking about making like $35 an hour, and she was like, "Hold up, where y'all getting paid $35 an hour?" Okay, and and that's real. It's like you're making whatever, maybe minimum wage, maybe 10, maybe 15 an hour, and you're like, wait, y'all getting paid more than twice as much as me? Where they do that at? How can I do that? So I think that was. That was an amazing story that she had. So that's cool, man. I appreciate also like the transparency about doing the certification program while being a single mom at the time. We talked a lot off camera about our kids, right? You got three beautiful babies. I got two handsome boys, and I know it's a great joy to be a parent, and it's like the most fulfilling thing ever. But at the same time, it's like it's so many sacrifices, like each and every day, right? There's no free lunch. Like my oldest son is right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, my oldest son is guilt tripping me. Well, not like being like, "Daddy, don't do it," but like I have to go on just a work trip. And for me, it's like this is something that I would have done plenty of times, like before kids, and not even thought about twice. But he every day he's inquiring, like his mind is like, "Okay, Daddy's about to leave." He's like, "Why are you leaving? How long are you gonna be gone for?" I wish I could come. And I'm just like, boy, you don't understand what you're doing to me. And so it's like, he's pulling on the heartstring. They're like, boy, I'm about to tell him I can't go. Like, I don't even want to go no more. But it's like, that's just like one instance of doing a work trip. Like, so I know there's sacrifices involved there. And like for you, those certification programs aren't just a 1 day thing or a 1 week thing. They're time consuming, they're sacrifices. And I was listening to your story where you talked about, there was a picture that you saw and you say like this was like one of the more hopeless moments, and you looked over at your daughters and you realized, okay, you got to do this for them. So I guess like what was that experience like, if you could kind of summarize it or sum it up, like going through that and realizing like, yo, it's worth it. It's hard, but it's worth it, or whatever feelings you may have had. What was that like?
Yeah, yeah. So at the time, I made a couple of decisions that felt like they were life altering, life changing. We hear that saying all the time in corporate of, hey, take your time. We're not saving lives. We're not having organs in our hands and having to make these split second decisions that may cause their heart to stop beating. It's okay and this and that, right? But as a single parent, those decisions that you have to make, they are like going to save, if not change, the trajectory of somebody's life. And at that moment, everything was at stake. Everything that I did from that moment forward, from looking at them while we were traveling back from South Central Los Angeles, because that was where I was born and raised, to cross country, Nashville, Tennessee, I had to look at them and make that decision, mid country. Like, are we going to stay in the situation that we're in, or are they going to see you win? Will you give them a living example of what triumph after trial looks like? Or are they just going to become susceptible to the system that they now have to be a part of to survive? Like, it might not be seen as trial by fire. In my situation, it was trial by survival. Everything that I had to do had to be altered, be stopped, be started because of them. While I was going through the certification program, I had to make decisions. And some of those decisions included, do I keep my internet on or do I keep the lights on? When I chose to keep the lights on, I used the hotspot on my phone to entertain them with a laptop that was given to me because somebody found out that I was going through the certification program. They gave me a computer that I still have and my youngest uses. But after making those decisions, I then had to stay up until like 2 o'clock in the morning going through my studies because that was the only time that I had to study without being bothered by them. My girls were 2 and then 6 at the time because they're 4 years apart. And I remember that I had to operate as if we had nothing. I had to get us out the mud in that moment. They were asleep at my feet and I was up on my phone because they were already using the laptop. And then as soon as they fell asleep, I switched and I
Mhm.
picked up my studies on the laptop. And then I would go until I physically couldn't go anymore. And then I'd get up a couple hours later and go to work and start the whole thing over again.
Yo, man, that's inspirational. I appreciate you, like, again, being able to share that level of transparency with people. But I think it goes to show, it's not, the journey's not going to be easy. And I know a lot of times when people are on YouTube, they're looking for like easiest tech job to land in 30 days. And yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
cool and catchy for like a TikTok video or whatever. But the reality is that like anything that's worth having is not going to be easy. And so you just got to
amen.
prepare yourself mentally for that. And then also, I think the other part is, some people call them like that wraparound services, right? Like somebody found out that you didn't like the situation you were kind of in, and they're like, okay, hey, let me get you a laptop for free. That way you can use
Yeah,
the phone as a hotspot, and the kids got a laptop, and you got one when they're not playing whatever game on it or watching a movie on
yeah.
it. So it's no, I think those things are necessary to make sure that people don't slip through the cracks, so to speak.
There's moments like this that I have to be reminded that all of it wasn't for nothing. Like not for nothing at all. Like I wow. Yeah, I'm just thinking back to that moment. I'm just thinking back to that time period, and it's just like I received the greatest compliment, and that's what why I'm saying this. I received the greatest compliment from my oldest child, and my nephew was looking for a job at the time, and my oldest said, "Tell him to do what you do." It's like, "Do you even know what I do?" She's like, "Kind of, but just tell him to do what you do." I said, "Why?" She was in the living room, and she said, "Because we're doing good. Because we're doing all right." Like,
Oh man. That's amazing. Yeah, and the kids see it, right? Like they taking everything in. So they see like, yo, we went from this house to this house. I don't know what how your living situation changed or whatever, but it's like they notice those things, right? Oh, the house maybe got bigger, or maybe the car got nicer, or maybe the clothes got nicer. And so like it's amazing to see that they take all that information in. They're taking in all those data points, and they're like, they may even be able to make the correlation like, okay, mommy went through this time where she was always studying. And I was like, mommy, why you always studying? But now I see, okay, hey, things have changed because of it. So that's what you
yeah,
do it for, in my opinion, for the ones you love.
yeah, yeah, real talk.
Man, that's dope. Okay, man. No, I could spend an hour just talking about like that part of it, but I know there's some more value in your story as well. Like, there's so many different pieces to kind of take away from it. You went through the certification program, the Go with Google program. I know I've heard
Mhm.
all kinds of scenarios, but how was that? How was that program, that certification program? I heard, it's been helpful for some people. Nothing but good things, I'll say. But how was it for you? How was the experience overall?
Yeah, it was helpful for me to know that I wasn't alone in striving for more. I wasn't alone in what I wanted for myself at the time. Having a tech job only meant you have to go to a boot camp and become a software engineer. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do that. But this opened up the door for me to be able to see like there are other ways to get in. There are other ways to break into tech. There are more doors to walk through. And this program definitely helped not only level the playing field for me, but it gave me not only the fire that I needed, but also it showed me what good support could look like. And I got good support. I was able to come into the Career Solutions Center and go through some classes just because I needed the space to actually sit through and like and like go through what I needed to do. I was able to be amongst mentors like Chelsea when she came in to kind of talk us through what the other side of the program could look like. And yeah, it was beneficial for me because I was able to also do the program at my own pace. So I didn't feel like I needed to complete it in like 20 minutes. I know some people do. I know some people do get it done in like 3 months. Like one of the young ladies that was on that video that you were mentioning, she got it done in 3 months and she had 4 kids. So to each their own. But it did work. It did work for me. So,
That's cool. So you took the IT certification program. What skills did you kind of walk away with from there? And then also any recommendations or things you would do different looking back?
yeah, yeah. I think I'll start off with recommendations for differences. I would recommend for the role that I have now as a program manager in a way, I would recommend the program management course track because the IT support certification didn't quite help me with what I did as a tech apprentice. I was able to at least ask the right questions. I was able to
Mm.
investigate properly. I was able to think big picture. I was able to create the best questions. And I know that prompt engineering is a big thing now, and that helps, us with our communication skills. That helps us to break down a task a bit better. But I learned that during IT support certification, and that was my first experience with it. But moving forward, I think if you know what the end goal is, then that'll help direct you on your learning goals.
Nice. Okay. Now I think that's a great point. You know, because if you know for sure, hey, I want to be a software engineer, you know which one you need to be taking. Whereas like if you're
Yeah.
like, okay, the technical stuff doesn't really, the coding doesn't really get me excited. Like, don't even go that route. Look at like the project management or whatever the case may be. Okay, exciting. And
Data
so,
analytics.
oh, yeah, data analytics is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, cool. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even know they had that one. That's cool.
Listen, when I did it, it was IT support. That's it. but but nowadays they cover a huge gamut. So I highly recommend it.
Okay, and you
There's
did.
something I want to do now. So
Oh, nice. And what they taught you like networking and that type of stuff, or
yeah, it was very much hardcore hardware that I was dealing with. Not a lot of software, not a lot of like management tools. It was a lot of hardware. Like, okay, this is how you work in the control panel. This is how you work in the terminal if you're on a Mac. So
so
yeah.
you were committed then because you probably knew early on like that's not what you wanted to do, but you were like, look, we got to do something different, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Okay, and then even more to that point, you were telling me off camera like you went from doing an IT certification into a software engineering apprenticeship role. Is that correct? So
Yeah.
you were like, I want to go that way, but you were like, I know I got to go this way first. So let me just thug it out and do what I got to do to make it happen. How was that experience doing the software engineering apprenticeship program for your that was for your current employer, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was interesting because I came into that opportunity, and as a tech apprentice, I knew nothing, not much about software engineering, but I knew what JavaScript was supposed to look like. I knew what CSS was supposed to look like. I knew what HTML was supposed to look like. And so I added that to the resume, and that got me into the door. It helped. But my first role as a tech apprentice was a robotics process automation engineer. And again, going back to knowing how to ask the right questions, knowing how to problem solve, that got me a lot farther than knowing that hard skill of what does Blue Prism do and what does Blue Prism do well. Even though I applied those core skills to know how to plug and play in that RPA tool, I knew that I had to try something. I knew that I had to try something until it broke, and that taught me the power of reverse engineering any process that I walked into. And after that, I went into test engineering. Let me tell you something. Test engineering ain't for the faint at heart. Okay, if you don't know this about yourself, just know that test engineering ain't for the faint at heart. It ain't for somebody that's going to give up. I was ready to give it all up because it was not for me. But I made it work. I learned what I had to learn and I got out. But it tested every little religious I love Jesus bone in me. It was so hard. Like, it was so
Hey, I feel you, and that's the honesty there. I've never had to do it, but nah, I mean, it's again, it's not easy, you know. So I mean, you really got to know that's what you want to do. How long did you do like the software engineering and the test engineering? You did that for like a full year or what?
Yeah, I did the RPA for a full year, and that was the length of my apprenticeship. So I learned the nitty gritty of what it meant to automate, and I learned the nitty gritty of what it meant to perfect, the finger of the thing. Right. That's where I started. Was I'm that engineer that has to work on the finger of the thing. Like, okay, great. I know how to make the finger go up and down. And then I was moved over to the business side of it, like DevOps. And so I was now able to understand why the arm moves at the way that it does and how, the foot bone's connected to the leg bone. And so that part of it helped when it came to like solutions architecting in every other part of my role and every role that I've had since.
Gotcha. Okay, man. So how long were you? So you did was all of that within 1 year, or you did the 1 year apprenticeship program and then you did and went over to the solution or DevOps and solutions architect?
Yeah, so I did the RPA for the full year of the apprenticeship, and then after the apprenticeship, that's when I did the testing. So I did the DevOps a part of within that 1 year, that first year.
Oh, okay, gotcha, man. So when did you finally get a chance to get away from the technical stuff? Because I know that was something you realized early on, like, okay, this is cool, but this is not for me. So like, when did you actually get a chance to move into like more of the people facing roles and stuff?
Yeah, so the good thing about being at a firm that touches so many different industries and has their hand in areas that we as the common folk don't even understand. It gave me that opportunity to completely shift industries. So after the tech engineering role kind of went south for me, and I knew then that my mental health was spiraling in a downward trajectory. I reached out and got connected with a couple of people, and they introduced me to change management. And change management is what gave me that courage to push back and gave me that courage to, you know, speak up and advocate for myself, because what we know about change management is you have to change other people's minds. You have to change belief in a way. You have to push past what isn't supposed to happen, or you have to push past someone saying, but we're set in our old ways. We're fine. No, 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 no. Gen AI is coming. You have to be prepared, guys. Like, you have to be prepared to evolve. And change management gave me exactly what I needed to be able to advocate not just for myself, but advocate for the folks that I was supporting. And then that led me to where I should have been in the first place, which is now that experienced lead role. But as you can tell, like there's one part of this pours into the next, pours into the next, and pours into the next. And it's been a great building block.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the previous stops throughout your career have made you the perfect person to solve the problem that you're doing now in terms of apprenticeship experience, right? Like you've been on the other extreme of it where like, yo, you're a single mom struggling to pay the bills. You're the, hey, I'm going through the certification. Now I'm an apprentice. Now I'm working in the technical field and I'm dealing with managers and technical teams and cross-functional teams again and all that. And now you're like change management, getting people on board to like adopt a change that they need to adopt or else they're gonna get left behind or not make as much revenue. And so like all those things prepared you perfectly for the role that you're in currently. I know that I think from talking to you off camera, this is not a role that even existed before. So like you obviously
Yeah.
use your change management skills to get somebody to write the check, put the money behind it. So like, and that's not an easy conversation to have by any means, getting somebody to invest in creating a whole new role. Like what was that like? Because I think sometimes people there's not as much emphasis on like those core interpersonal skills and those soft skills again. Like How do you have those difficult conversations with leaders who are deciding whether to fund something or not?
Yeah. I think that starts with understanding where the power and what equity you have within the relationships that you hold. That leans so much into what I've recently learned about relationship equity. And I know that we hear solely about sweat equity, but relationship equity will get you not only in the door, but a table that was not only not welcome to you, but also give you leverage. That's what I got. That's what I got out of the relationships that I had. I got leverage. And if somebody was going to bet all black on me, all in, a week before they retired, if they were going to bet that much on me, then I now have to show up and not only exceed their investment, but give it back to them. And in this moment, I thank you. I thank you so much for betting on me because it gave me relief to not have to bet on myself anymore because I'd had to bet on myself. I had to do it out of a place of a fixed survival mindset. And at that moment, I was poured back into and I was told and affirmed that everything you put out because of those three girls, because of the person that was looking back at the mirror, I see it and I know that it's worth it. I know that you're worth being invested into. And that relationship will continue for the rest of my life. She'll always be thanked for the doors that she opened for me. But yeah, that just goes into the power of mentorship.
I like that. How do you build those? And we're gonna talk about mentorship next because I know that's
Yeah.
something that's come up a couple of times. But for somebody who's watching this, that's like, okay, I hear you talking about relationships. I hear you talking about relationship equity. I'm in fast food. I'm in retail. I work in the mall. Like, how do I do that? Or even somebody in corporate that's, maybe just starting their career or even been in their career for a while, but they've just been like the heads down worker. Like, how do you go about building those relationships with people that can open the door and give you a seat at the table or advocate on your behalf? Like, how do you go about that? Or how did you even do that?
Yeah, I quickly learned that every room and every door that was open for me is an opportunity to find another mentor, regardless of where I saw myself. I was once working at Dave and Buster's. I was working as mostly as a freelance digital marketer, and so I was working with 5 clients at one time. And in that moment, I knew that I had to show up in a certain way. I had to show up because the person that hired me required me to give them what they paid me for. And though it was all on me to be able to deliver in that way, I knew that even back then that I needed to show up in excellence. And that excellence is what became my first mentor. It's like, okay, so I can't report to another person. So what can I take from this? Who am I going to learn from? Excellence. Learn from excellence. Okay, great. So I operated in excellence in everything that I did. I helped to grow a social media platform from a smaller number to a larger number based on the brand that I worked with. And for someone that might be in fast food, let excellence be your first mentor. Let what you want to become be your first mentor, even if it's a far away mentor, even if it's someone that you can't physically touch and check in with. Don't play comparison, but shoot for excellence. And then that physical mentor will manifest. That physical mentor will come around because somebody will see that you are worth investing into, and they're going to want to help in that journey. One thing that I've come to understand as I've adopted like a growth mindset is there are more people for you than there are against you. And I know in the Black and Brown community, we're told that we have to just survive. We have to be 1x, one times 100 better than our counterparts so that we can get half as much. But from doing that, that eliminates so many people that can help lift us as they climb. And yeah, I've had to get rid of that fixed mindset in order to realize that there are mentors regardless of the size of the room that I'm in, and regardless of whose name is on the back of the shirt, whose name is on the front of the shirt, regardless of whose name that is, there's room for you. There's room for a mentor to be found.
I like that. I love the way you frame that. Let excellence be your mentor. And I kind of think about like building your brand and like if you're in fast food, if you're in retail, let's just say you just folding clothes, like you just, or you the stock person. That was my first job, stock person. Yo, you got to be the best stock person so that when your manager is meeting with the district manager, they be like, yo, I got bomb stock person. Boy can put sensors on pants like no other. Like he's be taking them boxes, throwing them around, putting sensors on this product and getting it out the door. So I mean, I think like number one, building that brand, that the importance of that, so that you're well known and you're known for good work. I think that's important, because I think that alone can get you in certain rooms, and it can for sure, get you access to certain people. I didn't know if you have a comment on that, but I did have one question about your career trajectory and career goals. Like you've gone, like we've talked about it from both extremes. Was this always, did you have a vision in mind, or like how did you set career goals? Like, okay, hey, I'm gonna go from where I'm at to I want to be like leading some team or whatever it was. Did you have any career goals at any point in this journey? And if so, like how'd you kind of define them?
Yeah, I think the career goals define themselves based on the rooms that I was in. There was a point where I was doing a lot of day labor, and I knew that I wanted to understand the business in and out as as quickly as possible, because if I'm just doing day labor and I'm only assigned to be here for 3 days, great. I need to understand how they stack the books properly and why the books have to be stacked this way, and then go from there and figure out how to do it faster than the person next to me. That was the only time that I would recommend or notice in my own journey that comparison played a good part within my journey. But but based on the room that I was in, the goals kind of created themselves. Currently, the way that I set and track some of the goals that I have, I I take myself through a skills assessment, and this is all just mental work, right? This is all self-awareness that I'll take myself through. But there are ways that I want to grow my personal brand. I want to be a an instructional designer. I want to be able to teach other people well how to either do their job or change belief when it comes to a certain program that you're doing, and how to shift it to the next program. So that means that I have to be the best instructional designer that I can be. And based on the goal that I currently have of owning an organization that works with early career professionals and and helps them to build strategies that help them to outlive that small 12-month mark of being an apprentice, there are other goals that I have to itemize, that I have to be honest with. If I'm not doing that today, then how am I going to validate, you know, my career going in that ownership space? And so for someone that is walking through that themselves, I would first recommend going through your own skills assessment and being very, very honest with yourself. Being honest to the point that sometimes you have to get mad at what you deliver every day, and realize that you're either operating from a space or a mindset of offense when it comes to a difficult manager. What part of that is on you? What part of that says that I don't like the way that they talk to me, but did I set a deadline? Did I say that I'm going to deliver something at the end of the week and I didn't? And then it stops becoming their fault for checking in on it. So starting off with that skills assessment and having those hard truths, and then holding yourself accountable to them. What other leaders, what other mentors, what other coworkers are around you that can keep you accountable? And sometimes you can't share all of those career goals with folks that work the closest with you.
I like it. So many gems in there. I'm glad you mentioned that. You know, the future goals, the future plans for you, and it's needed, Kara. Like these organizations that don't even have apprenticeship programs, they probably have a lot of assumptions of why they can't have them, or if they're running them, they may be having some gaps in there, not running them properly, or not bridging the expectation with reality for their apprentices. How are you preparing for that leadership role? Like right now, is there anything that you're doing to kind of like prepare? And I ask that because somebody else may have ambitions of entrepreneurship, and they're like, they just think, oh, it's sexy. It's, you know, it's nice to be an entrepreneur, but or have your own organization, or even be a leader in another organization. But you got to be prepared to lead that team. So I'm just curious, like how you're doing that and preparing for it.
Yeah, I'm going back to a point of advice that I got from a career coach. She was doing a group coaching session, and she said, "Don't be afraid to stay in corporate to get the training that you need to go and do your own." So that's the season that I'm in right now. But when it's my name on the door, I I will make sure that not only are you heard, but you're also given a clear plan that helps beyond today, that helps you to see the value in every position that you've ever held, and uncover some of the things that you thought were worthless, and shine a light on those things so that you can find the training that you need, so that you can find the mentorship that you need, so that you can continue to find those unspoken, unwritten expectations, so that you can find space to be celebrated. And now I'm working with a friend of mine that is a former apprentice, and we're calling ourselves your work besties because he became quickly became my work bestie, and I love his wife to pieces. And we exchange different ideologies and whatnot all day long. So I can talk to his wife on the phone for 2 hours. I can talk to her husband on the phone for an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours in the same week. Because we genuinely love to be in each other's presence. But the work besties are working together now to help coach you from afar, and that's going to be the foundation, is coaching, is giving access to executive coaching when the door seems to be closed. Give you access to knowing what you don't know. And because we now are pulling our resources, pulling our experiences, and leaning into those gaps that we said and we knew while going through our own journeys that either weren't being filled, or there wasn't a me in my position when I was going through it. That's what we're going to bring. We're going to bring what is it? Power, voice to power, I guess. We'll see. It'll definitely be a route to rise.
Nice. You got a lot of little sayings and slogans. You need to get you some T-shirts. What was it? You had something triumph over trials. So you got a lot. And I mean, there's some more I saw on the as well, like in some of the videos. I was like, who's coming up with these? So it was like it's cool. Yo, again, much needed. And it's funny to see things come full circle. You know, where you went from not having somebody in your role currently for yourself to now being able to, now you're providing coaching for the apprentices, helping them be prepared. But then the next step is you'll be providing coaching for executives, making sure, okay, hey, how's the apprenticeship program going? Like, where are your blind spots? Where are your biases? How can we build this out to make it successful? I'm excited to see what the future holds. And,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Going back to mentorship real quick, because you mentioned Chelsea, you also mentioned there was somebody specifically that had a seat at the table and they were like, bet on Cara. I'm going all in on her. I'm going all in, pushing all my chips to the middle of the table on Cara. How was that relationship formed? That one specifically. Like, is this somebody that you were maybe was a manager of some sort and, just kind of developed their relationship? Or how did
Mhm.
that kind of come to be?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I met her my first day of being an apprentice, and she was the HR sponsor for the entire program, for the entire apprenticeship program. And I knew quickly because I was taught when I was 16 years old, a part of a women's empowerment organization. And I was taught very quickly that you need to identify who the stakeholders are in the room. By doing that, I then made sure that I reached out to this leader on a personal level and just said, "Hey, I really enjoyed what you said, and I look forward to working with you again." And from that moment, that sparked an immediate relationship with this person because there were other milestones that I had, and I already had rapport with her. And so I was able to share some of those wins. And then when it came time to her needing to understand the health of the program, understand what gaps may be visible, or I said that I need to get a question answered and I don't know who else to go to. So I'm just going to go all the way to the top. I'm going to go to the highest person up the chain that I know. And she got those questions answered for me. And so when it came to the point that I needed some questions answered, she then came back to me and said, "Well, what do you need? Give me a couple days." So, okay. She came back to me 24 hours later. "I got a role for you. Will you take it?" Yeah. Yeah. And I've only met this person one time in person.
We just gonna
So,
leave that pause there for a minute. That's yeah, because I mean, it's like you just said one that the wisdom to know like, yo, you need to identify who's calling the shots here in the room. Who are the people you need to
yeah.
know? Who are the people that need to know your name so that when you're working, that's part of the game. And I call it a game, but that's the way it works in corporate. You got to know like it's not just do your work. I love like the point you made about like let excellence be your mentor, but I also love that you put
Yeah.
like that's the first step, right? Like
Yeah.
you got to build the relationships with people, and you identified who is the person I need to build a relationship with. Is this person like director level, VP level? It seems like they may have retired, but what?
They were a level 4. At the time, I was a level 13.
Okay. Simple math. That's crazy. So yeah, I mean, it's you. Somebody who's watching this, you may just be an email away from building that relationship with somebody who could really, has clout in the organization.
Change the trajectory of your life. You are only an email away from being in the midst of somebody that can change the trajectory of your life. Please bet on yourself.
Interesting. I know we talked before. You said in building this relationship with this mentor, there were some times where you had to be receptive to coaching. And she like, being like, okay, hey, Cara, you got this, this, and this, but maybe need to work on this. I'm assuming this is the same mentor. Like, what were those conversations like? And I guess, can you speak to the importance of being coachable and receptive to like positive criticism or positive, feedback? It can hurt a little bit when they're carving at you a little bit and, trying to make you a better person. But what is the importance of that being coachable?
Man, it will definitely keep you relevant. If you feel like you know everything, if you feel like you can't be taught, you're disposable. It'll keep you indisposable for sure, indispensable. And that's the goal in when it comes to corporate, right? That's the goal. But when it comes to any other space, you have to understand that sometimes someone has insight into something that you don't, and that's okay. I recently had to learn that. I shared honestly with my current lead. I said I received this answer from this other team, and I quickly took that as some level of like a begrudging, disapproving, dis that, right? But she quickly reminded me that let's not think of it that way. Let's take this as a space that they know something that we don't. They have context that we don't. And being able to understand the importance of context will definitely help you to be coachable.
Nice. I love that. Hey, I got two more questions for you. The first one, somebody's watching this and they need help with that transition, that culture shock that happens when you get into corporate, whether it's a current apprentice, an aspiring apprentice, or an early career professional. What do you
Yeah.
recommend for them in order to like be better prepared and equipped for working in that corporate setting?
Just first understand that it's hard. It's going to be difficult to feel like you have to code switch. It's going to be difficult to understand that you have autonomy. And let's be real, autonomy is great, but it's also difficult. It's difficult to self regulate, it's difficult to have those hard conversations with yourself when you feel like there aren't mentors in the room, where you feel like everybody is against you and everybody is around to take your job. It's difficult. And I first want to honor you for understanding that it is going to be difficult, and honor you for opting in and saying I'm going to do hard things and I'm going to be okay with failing first. So you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with there are going to be failures, you're going to experience them, but also understand that the failures that you've experienced have shaped, molded, and propped up where you are now. And understand that the shock of it all, you can then teach somebody else. It'll be gratifying to be out of that season, but just start with that end goal in mind and never, ever, ever let anybody put out your flame. I learned that just yesterday. I learned that just yesterday, okay, from a new mentor of mine. I've always had a fire about me, and I let somebody douse it. I let somebody douse it.
Spark it
And
up.
man, even now I'm like, yo, I'm ready now. Let's get it. Like, let's get it. Like, there ain't nothing I can't do. If my three children can look around the house and be like, we good. If
Yeah.
my three children can share a king size bed with me one day that was beyond uncomfortable, beyond uncomfortable. If they can share a king size bed with me and have four people in one bed, and then now for them to be able to have their own room and say this room is a little small compared to the other house, please, please understand that hard things will not stop you, and they can't stop you. So, yeah.
That's nice. I love it. You have a
I don't
gift
know if
for
that answers the question.
nah. You have a gift for speaking life into people. I saw that in another video. When you were talking to that mom of four who overcame and got the certification, got the job. And I mean, people need to hear that. It's important. And I appreciate the words and the light that you speak into others, because life is hard, regardless of if you're a parent or not. Life is hard. Everybody's had their own set of challenges. And sometimes it's not always about like the ones and zeros, the code, the syntax, the technical stuff. Sometimes it's just about the people and knowing that like
Yeah.
at the end of the day we're all human, and having people that can like pick you up when you get down is so important. So I appreciate you for doing that. Somebody is watching this that is like, okay, I'm all in, I'm bought in. Where should people be looking to find these apprenticeships? other than noexperiencejobs.io, of course. But where should people be
I was
looking
about to say that
for?
was about to be my first one.
If you're looking for an entry level job that doesn't require any years of experience, check out noexperiencejobs.io. This is a job board that spotlights entry level jobs that don't require any experience. The great thing about the job board is that you can filter jobs to only find remote or on site jobs. And then also, you can filter jobs based on the city, such as Houston, Detroit, Seattle, wherever you're at in North America. You can also filter jobs based on if it's a full time position, internship, or a contract role. While you're on the site, make sure you sign up for our weekly newsletter. We send out jobs each and every week that we think are very interesting or that may be appealing to you. My goal for 2024 is to help as many people possible land their dream job. If that sounds interesting, make sure you check out noexperiencejobs.io. You gotta give you an alley oop. You could take that one, but where else should people be looking at to find these apprenticeship programs?
Yeah, they're available everywhere, honestly. One of the ones that I would shout out first is Black Tech Pipeline, Paris Chandler. And that's Paris with two S's. I don't know her personally, but I remember the day that she posted that tweet when it was Twitter, and I was in the thick of my training program, and yeah, I remember that day, and I remember when it went viral. So shout out to Paris. Let's see another one. Definitely LinkedIn, because if you can look in the search box and just say apprenticeships, there are more apprenticeships becoming available because of the 19, 20 plus state governments that are lifting the degree requirement in state government jobs. A list of it is available on Opportunity at Work, and that's the ampersand sign for at Opportunity at Work. And start there. Start at the states that have lifted those degree requirements. And if you qualify for it, go for it. You know, reach out to those hiring managers, reach out to those decision makers, those stakeholders that are going to be the ones to say, all right, you're in here. But yeah, I don't really have any other ones other than the ones we stated.
Yeah, no, the opportunity at work, that's a big one. I did see the announcement about that, but I mean, when you look at the size of the government, federal, state, local, I think they're like the biggest employer, if I'm not mistaken. It could be. I need to check that. I'm gonna check that, or y'all check that. I don't know. John, videographer, help me out. Is that accurate? Yes. But look, there's a lot of jobs for government employees, and thinking about them opening this up to apprenticeship graduates and participants, that can be really
Mhm.
huge. So I think that's a big one. That's a really big one. But no, I think, encourage everybody. Blackest Tech Pipeline. Is it Black Tech Pipeline or
Black pipeline.
okay, Black
Black.
Tech?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I saw her Paris's story. I thought that was really amazing. She went from sending out a tweet to like
Yeah.
having a full business and helping hundreds or maybe thousands of people get into tech. That's really inspiring and dope what she's doing. So definitely check her out. So it's a lot. It's a lot of different stuff going on. So I mean, you just got to make sure you're up to date, stay on top, stay hungry, stay thirsty, stay looking for these opportunities. They will present themselves. Just make sure you're ready when they do. Yo, this has been fun. Kara, my dog.
Yeah.
This has been a lot of fun. From where I think I'm gonna try to title this one from 66 to Fortune, whatever. What where you grew up at was 66 and what?
66 and Western, man. Between between what is it called? Cimarron
All right.
off of Cimarron Street, 66 and Western, down the street from where Boys in the Hood was filmed, down the street
Uh,
from where Nipsey Hussle was born. What? Like
come a long
we
way.
in we
That's
in there.
cool. That's dope. I love it. Hey, so anybody that wants to get in touch with you, help you in any way, maybe even start
Yeah,
their own apprenticeship program, what should they
yeah.
do? How should they connect with you? How can they maybe even be a future client when it's, time? Like, how can they do all that?
Right on. Just email me. Email me. Kara Kara dot Gooch 20 at gmail.com. Kara dot Gooch 20 at gmail.com. I'm available on LinkedIn. My DMs will always be open. Okay, that's never going to change. And yeah, that's the biggest thing. I mean, I have my own podcast, but it's not it's not breaking the tech type work. So I don't know
Shout it
if that's
out.
valid.
Shout it
Oh
out.
man, it's called Versus to Values. Versus to Values, where we help you to maintain your Christian values in corporate spaces.
Much needed, because some of these emails and conversations people be having in corporate make you want to act out, not Christ-like either. So I'm glad you out here. But no, there's a lot to be spoken approaching business, approaching life from a biblical standpoint, and I think that can really
Yes.
help you be successful.
Yeah. Servant leadership is where it's at, man.
Exactly. That was the first thought I had. Servant leadership, operating from a space of love and empathy, all of that.
Mhm.
You'll see a lot of good things come from you if you move the way Christ called us to move. So keep doing it, yo. That's needed.
Thank you.
Make these people live right out here. Hey,
Yeah, man.
Kara Gooch, it's been a pleasure. I'm gonna get you back at some point. We're gonna connect in real life, IRL. I'm in H Town, you in Austin, so we'll make it happen. It's just bound to be a conference or something coming up, so we'll make it happen. But thank you again for coming on the show and sharing your story. I've had a blast. You guys that have watched this, I know y'all gained some value from this. It's not always just about like sharing, okay, hey, how much did you make or what coding language did you use? Sometimes it's about, the personal story behind it and the core skills, the soft skills, the triumph, overcoming the tribulations. And so I really was excited to share Miss Gooch's story, and I know y'all took a lot from it. So make sure you share this with somebody who's maybe in that position of can't see the light at the end of the tunnel or can't see the forest, and they just stuck. I think they can gain a lot of value from it and know like, yo, this is where I'm at, but this is not where I'm gonna finish. So share this with somebody, like it, subscribe, the usual stuff. But yeah, that's it. My name is Andrew Baines. It's been a pleasure, and I've had a great time interviewing Kara Gooch. See you guys later. Peace.